Today, the state's implementation of House Bill 4002 went into effect. Thanks for joining us for KGW News at 11. I'm John Adams. With that new law, anyone found in possession of hard drugs like meth or fentanyl can face charges once again. Our Celine Stevens joins us now in the studio with more on how people in the area are feeling now that this new policy is in motion. Celine?
John, now people are struggling with addiction. They could land in jail for possessing hard drugs unless they choose to deflect into treatment. But even that has limits, and people I spoke with today have mixed feelings about the new law.
Cleaning up the streets, getting the drugs off the streets is probably a good thing.
We can't just fill up our jails with, people who are obviously needing, help.
I don't think it's fixing the problem. I think it's fixing the symptom.
House Bill 4002 finally went into effect Sunday, a new law that partially rolled back parts of Measure 110. That measure was approved in 2020, decriminalizing small amounts of hard drugs like cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl, with the only punishment being a fine. But after increased drug use, especially with fentanyl, Governor Tina Kotek signed the bill, rolling back parts of the law and making hard drug possession a crime once again.
When it was decriminalized, there wasn't enough resources that were put into making sure that people who needed the help to go to treatment could find a bed and go to treatment. We definitely need to make sure that people have the resources that they need so that they can get off drugs, stay sober, and turn their lives around.
This time, counties will have their own deflection programs meant to offer drug users the chance to avoid jail time by opting into treatment. For example, anyone found with hard drugs in Multnomah County will be handcuffed while police check for outstanding warrants. If they don't have any, they could be offered deflection. However, the county's deflection center isn't ready yet, and in the meantime, the county plans to use a mobile outreach team. Another issue is that due to staffing, deflection will only be offered to those found with drugs between 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays. Outside of those hours, it's a citation or straight to jail.
Recriminalization, I think, is going to help us get back on track with providing the help to the folks who are addicts. They're good plans, but you have to put them into implementation. It takes a while. People need to be patient about it.
Others think the deflection centers are a good idea, but without the right resources, not much will change, and think arresting drug users might just be the quick answer.
If you get a record, then it's hard to find housing, and it causes all other problems for you that make it even more difficult to stay sober and also stay off the streets too.
Meanwhile, officials with public transportation like TriMet believe it's a good move and think it will help law enforcement better address issues with the drug crisis.
This new tool gives us an ability to actually go out there and work with our law enforcement personnel to increase penalties out there on the system.
Now, in a few months, Senate Bill 1553 will also go into effect, which is a new separate legislation that will create a stiffer penalty for anyone caught using drugs on public transportation. That goes into effect on January 1st. John, back to you.
All right, Celine, thank you. Well, starting today, so-called ghost guns are completely banned in Oregon. Ghost guns are homemade firearms that don't have serial numbers, making them essentially untraceable. Lawmakers passed a law last year making the sale, manufacture, or possession illegal, a move special counsel to the Oregon Attorney General says is meant to make sure those guns can be tracked.
This is not going to apply to most gun owners at all, frankly, because most guns are serialized since 1968. Any gun you buy at a store has had a serial number on it.
First-time offenders face a fine of up to $1,000, though repeat offenders could result in higher fines and potentially prison time. New tonight, rescue crews have suspended a search for a woman who went missing in the Willamette River at Molalla State Park. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office tells us at about 5:14, a call came in about a woman who'd fallen off a boat but never resurfaced. Multiple agencies responded, but they were unable to find her. They say the river is really deep in some areas, and that, combined with nightfall, forced them to suspend the search. Crews are expected to return to the scene tomorrow to continue the search efforts. Governor Tina Kotek has invoked the Emergency Conflagration Act for a wildfire burning in Klamath County. The Copperfield fire is burning near Chiloquin, Oregon. So far, it's scorched 1,000 acres, but crews worry wind could cause it to spread. There are level 3 go now evacuation orders in place. for areas east of Chiloquin and Sprague River Road at milepost 6 and 7. You can find evacuation updates on Klamath County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. Well, if you can believe it, this week marks 4 years since the devastating wildfires of Labor Day 2020. In just 3 days, 5 mega fires exploded, burning nearly 850,000 acres combined. Now, a quick fact here, those 5 fires from just that one season are among the top 20 worst fires in Oregon since 1900. Well, meteorologist Joe Ranieri joining us now. Near 90 degrees for the first day of September, but possibly a little cooler for day 2, Joe.
Day 2 will be cool, and then we'll go right back into some warmer temperatures. And I just kind of updated the 7-day forecast, and yeah, it's going to get kind of warm heading into the next few days, but not until really the middle part of the week. But I want to talk about what we've been seeing on the radar, and a good amount of cells have been rolling through parts of the Oregon coast with some lightning strikes and a little bit of some light rain. But again, a lot of these the showers are popping up with the thunderstorms, but the precipitation's evaporating before it reaches the surface because the upper levels of the atmosphere are so warm. Pretty active over in parts of central Oregon. A little bit of some light blue. That's the hail core that's been kind of wrapped around some of those thunderstorms all afternoon and into the evening hours as well. Now, red flag warning is in place throughout the southeast side of the state because of the fire danger threat. And again, there's a chance to see some of those thunderstorms move through parts of central Oregon and eastern Oregon tomorrow afternoon. So that red flag warning will most likely be up a good portion of the day for your Monday for Labor Day. Wells Fargo camera temperature of 65 degrees tomorrow. A chance to see some light spotty showers here and there, but once we get into the afternoon, we'll be seeing temperatures in the upper 60s to low 70s. John, that cloud deck is going to be pretty thick where a lot of locations might struggle to get above 70 degrees. I'll talk more about your detailed forecast and your holiday forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Joe, thank you. We'll see you a little later in the show. Well, a homeless encampment in southeast Portland caused a 3-story apartment to catch on fire. Our Sydney Dorner spoke with residents who say they constantly called the city about concerns about campers, but nothing was done.
At an apartment complex in southeast Portland, residents say they've learned how to live neck and neck with their houseless neighbors who camp out front, never thinking they would one day start a fire.
Chaotic. It's been a struggle.
We try our best to just kind of be understanding around here. Most people don't get combative or anything like that. It doesn't seem to help much. And as long as they're not really interfering with the way that most of us live, we just kind of let it be.
But they did interfere. Carla Dominguez says her son's bedroom window is right next to the encampment.
I can't even have my own windows open in my own home because I'm worried about a homeless guy physically abusing his girlfriend, and you can hear it and them yelling at each other, and it's like, and then my son wakes up screaming and crying,
causing her to consistently call the city with no real progress.
Was more stern about it this time because I've called the cops several times and I've never seen them show up.
Never thinking just a day after her last call, that same homeless camp would catch fire.
I heard banging, and by the time I realized, I opened my door and this man comes in. He's like helping me grab my kid, and he was like, you need to get out of the building because the building's on fire.
The fire started a little before 9 p.m. Saturday night, quickly crawling up the front building located on Southeast Division and 101st.
Bit of a panic state just to see how quick the fire was building, if everyone was aware that there was a fire, and making sure my manager was making sure that people were evacuating if necessary.
Firefighters were able to contain the fire without anyone getting hurt, but say about 6 of the apartment units are now unlivable, displacing about 14 people and sparking a wake-up call amongst neighbors.
So we've got to do something because that was really close. I mean, luckily nobody was hurt, but I mean, that came very close to burning down an entire building, and we could have lost people, people's lives.
Sydney Dorner, KGW News.
Well, just 2 blocks from that fire, around 1:30 this morning, a car lost control and slammed into the side of a paint store. This is at Southeast 97th and Division. Portland police say the driver and a passenger were taken to the hospital to get checked out by a doctor and will be okay. Speed was a factor in the crash, but so far, no one is facing charges. 2 Portland police officers were hurt early this morning when a drunk driver crashed into 2 patrol cars. It happened just after midnight on North Greeley Avenue in Deacom Street. That's in the Arbor Lodge neighborhood. Officers were apparently wrapping up another call when the suspect's car sideswiped patrol cars. One officer suffered a concussion and neck pain, the other an injured shoulder, but both will be okay. The suspect was not hurt and was booked into the Multnomah County Detention Center on several charges, including DUII. Portland police also responded to a deadly shooting overnight in Northeast Portland. It happened at 3:30 this morning at Northeast 92nd and Webster, just a few blocks off Sandy Boulevard. Officers arrived to find a man injured in the street. He was taken to the hospital for treatment but later died. We spoke to a woman who lives in the neighborhood and says criminal activity has become more of a problem lately.
I think the last month and a half or 2 months where I've been calling 311 and filing police reports where we've had actually people in the street doing drugs and then getting in their cars and driving off and haven't been able to get the situation resolved.
Police haven't made any arrests in this case, so if you have any information, you're asked to give them a call.
Workers' rights, work the fight! Workers' rights, work the fight!
Well, those are New Seasons workers picketing today at the store in Portland's Slabtown neighborhood. The union representing the workers, New Seasons Labor Union, authorized the one-day strike last week. It says workers want better pay and working conditions. New Seasons says it's committed to coming up with a fair agreement and will continue negotiating with the union.